So Lee, you've been really digging into some of the archives and releasing some legacy material. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Jason. How are you?
I'm well. I've got you depicted via AI here amid some
How do I look?
video. You look good. Video
Okay.
archives. Because I was looking, obviously, I noticed for people who are sponsoring you, and actually even for people who are just on there for free, for people who are checking out patreon.com/Stranahan, they're going to notice that you've been adding a lot of stuff lately, even actually since earlier today. You've got citizen journalism school stuff, cases, and
A
things
lot
that
of
you're
lessons,
posting.
hours of lessons up there now.
Yeah. Tell us what you got.
So one thing, let me say this. I'm very impressed by Patreon as a platform. And let me tell you why. Where it makes it very easy. And go back, do me a favor, go back to that front screen. I want to show people how it works. So you don't have a create button.
Well, I'm not logged in to your thing here.
Can
This is
you
just
do,
looking at it.
can you do that?
Not easily right now from this
Okay.
computer.
Okay, so there's a create button up there over to the right of my name, normally when I log in. And it lets you add uh, video, photos, audio, and I'll come back to that in a second, text, links, so you can add a variety of stuff. So basically, Patreon is effectively taking the place of a website. You know, I've had the idea for a long time of archiving my stuff on Stranahan.com, but I haven't gotten around to it because even though I know WordPress pretty well, setting
It's
it up is
complicated.
actually, it is. And like, if you want to add an audio file to a WordPress blog, for instance,
Mm.
and make it easy for people to play, what do you have to do? You have to find a
Uh,
plugin that plays audio, first off. You have to add it. Then you have to upload the audio file, hook that into the player. There's like 4 steps. With Patreon, I can take an audio file, just upload it, and boom, it plays. And in 2 clicks, it's made a preview. So people who have not paid for it, I'll come back to that in a second. Uh, so it's very easy to add audio. And I've got a lot of audio. I've got all the old archives from the backstory, my last show on Sputnik. So
mm-hmm.
from Fault Lines, my first show on Sputnik, from when I was hosting Bright Radio on Sirius XM satellite, and when I
Uh-huh.
did Radio Stranahan like 15 years ago. I did
Wow.
I did podcasts. I've got all this stuff, but it has been no easy way to make it accessible to people. I can give them the files. Here you go. But that's not
Huh.
fun.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Ian Miles Chung on Gamergate. I didn't know you interviewed him about that. I'd like to know more about that. That's interesting. I'll come back and listen to that.
It is actually very interesting. And I've interviewed Ian a couple of times on Fault Lines. And that's very interesting. And you'll find out that Gamergate is actually pretty crucial. Do you know what came out of Gamergate also?
Um, like a lot of trolling, I think. Not really.
Not
Oh,
only
Steve
Annapolis,
Bannon, something?
not only Annapolis, Bannon, kind of, Candace Owens. Bannon found Milo on Gamergate. What
Hmm.
he's, and I know the guy who actually paid to build Milo's following. Uh,
I
a
saw they
guy who's,
just put him back on X.
yeah. Well, I'm talking about Gamergate. That's all I'm talking about. I don't know anything about what Milo's doing now. But a guy I know basically saw that Milo was starting to blow up because of Gamergate, and so bought him followers to see who would pay attention. And sure enough, Bannon paid attention. Bannon was watching that because we talked about it before. Bannon's got actually, he may not look like a gamer. He doesn't have that look, but he's involved in games. He's not a gamer. He doesn't.
Making them, right?
He's
Selling products in them.
no. Basically, uh, what he did was, remember World of Warcraft?
Yeah.
So World of Warcraft, basically, you could do things in game, like mining for gold, and like get a gold, and then that gold you can use in the game to
Yeah.
like up a level or train yourself or whatever. But if people weren't patient and didn't want to do that, they could buy, like on a black market, gold. In other words,
Yeah.
they don't want to buy gold.
In-game currency, and he had people playing these video games all day and night, earning the money, right?
No, he had Chinese prisoners.
Whoa.
I'm not joking. He had prisoners, people in prison in China, playing games all day because they're in prison. So,
Video game prison.
I guess it beats anal sodomy. So
it's definitely better. I would think.
Video game is better than anal sodomy. Let's go. Milo might disagree.
You had to pick.
I digress. So Bannon was paying Chinese prisoners to mine for gold and then selling it at a big profit. So
That's the
humanitarian.
gate. Gamergate. Was that?
What's that?
That's the whole gate? Or I thought it was that somebody insulted somebody.
What happened was, Ian explains it very well. It's a short segment. And I think I made it
It's free, right? Yeah.
I think, yeah. I'm choosing a lot of the citizen journalism stuff. You can preview it free, see a minute or two, but it's for paid subscribers. But it's only $5 a month. So for $5 a month, you're getting a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I will say that. And but the Gamergate thing, basically, Ian does a good job of explaining it. It's before I wasn't paying any attention. But Gamergate was, there was a game, a woman who had published a game was talking about video games are racist, sexist, homophobic, that whole thing. So it kind of predated the woke thing a little bit.
Right.
Milo, and I think Mike Cernovich and Candace Owens were people pushing back on that, which is interesting. I'm just saying, yeah.
Interesting.
So I really like Patreon as a platform. It's basically, again, if I had to post all this material on my WordPress blog, it would take a lot longer. So I can basically, what I'm trying to do is not overwhelm people. I'm trying to put a decent amount of material up there. Then I've got enough stuff where I'm going to every day put some new stuff, like maybe an hour or two of new stuff every day. Not enough that's going to overwhelm you, but if you want to dig into something, you'll be able to. And because I can put links, I can really, they also have these things called collections. You know about that. So these collections allow me to categorize stuff by story. So all my Pickford stuff is in one area. All my Black Lives Matter stuff is in one area. All the Black Panther research I've done, Russiagate, Ukraine, they're all in different areas. And that collection can be a link, it can be text, it can be video, it can be audio, it can be anything. So it's really great. I'm very impressed with Patreon.
Well, definitely people can go over there to patreon.com/Stranahan and check out all of this stuff from the archives.
What I'd advise they do is at least become a free member, because by being a free member, you get free access to a bunch of stuff. Not everything, but free membership is kind of a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned.
It's free. Now, Lee, there was a huge Trump rally going on in Wildwood, New Jersey. Did you see any of that?
No, I did not.
They said it was the largest political rally in the history of New Jersey, estimated at 100,000 people there.
What I have seen, have you seen the cops and construction workers in New York who are like, fuck Biden?
Yes.
The union guys?
Uh-huh.
That's very interesting. I think the same thing is happening in New Jersey. I think working class East Coast people who previously would have been fuck Trump are now very much fuck Biden, bring Trump back. It's a phenomenon that I see very much happening. And they're worried about crime. That's a big concern. Immigration, as it relates to crime. And just about, look, I saw a quote today. Is your life better now than it was 4 years ago?
I mean, if you're asking me, the answer is financially, no. And mobility-wise, no. Crime.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, happiness. Not good.
I love my girlfriend, so my life is better in that sense. But
right.
economically, of course, I was fired, so with no severance, I should point
Mm,
out. Sputnik
mm,
pays no severance. Uh,
mm.
so I've been out of work for 3 months, and things. Now I've got a donation request and the Patreon. I'm trying to, and I think I've got a job lined up, but you know how it goes.
Takes a little
Uh,
while to get it going.
takes a
Yeah.
little while. Yes, my friend Brad Carvey said, "Nose quick, yes, takes a while." And
Exactly.
that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people can say no. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that was fast. But but uh, who can say that? I'll tell you, there are lots of people answering that question. C.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're a legal immigrant, your life is
Right.
better than it was 4 years ago, for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. It's inarguable, I think, factually, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's the perception, but then I see a lot of people with like their little kids laying in the street, like maybe they came here and thought it would be better, but also they're going to be victims of crime as well. They're living among, there's wild fights going on all the time.
But they can get moved into many are getting moved into hotels
But
and
I'm
flown
saying it's
around the
got to be
country.
dangerous in there. I don't want to be in there.
Okay, but where were they 4 years ago? Apparently, it's better. Apparently, it is better.
Well,
I'm not sure the living conditions were a lot better, but uh, you know, you're not getting a free hotel.
exactly. Paying for their hotel. Trump was saying, when he gets into office, it's going to be the biggest deportation effort ever. How is he going to do that? Doesn't seem too
Well,
easily done.
have I talked to you about how I think it should be done?
I don't know if you have.
I think the easiest way is to get people to self-report. And the way to do that is real simple. Laws we have on the books about who can work at a job, start enforcing them. So, like I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So in Sioux Falls, we have Smithfield. It's a big pork processing plant.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Smithfield, I guarantee you, a lot of people who work there are legal. Because I guarantee you, any meatpacking plant in the country, a lot of people who work there are legal. So what you do is you take jobs like construction, show up at a construction site and ask for IDs and start telling the employer you'll find them. I think $50,000 an illegal employee would do it. Make
Boof.
it
Yeah.
financially a disincentive for them to hire because they're
Right.
supposed to check. They're supposed to check. But right now, when I was in Twin Falls, Idaho, I found out uh, an accountant up there. She told me the dairy companies up there, the dairy, the milk processing companies, uh, she would say the same people come in year after year with a different name. So this year they're Jose, Garcia, and next year they're Martin Escobar or whatever.
And why are they doing that? So they don't have to pay them or something? Or
No, no, it's not about that. It's partially about control, but partially about pay, but partially about control. They do that because they got the ID last year of Jose Escobar, whatever my name is, and this year they can't get that ID, so they get a new one. But it's the same worker, it's the
Hmm.
same person, and so everyone knows anyone who works uh, in any kind of job was the law of immigrant labor knows the games that are getting played. And I think if you do it at the enforcement, because also if anyone goes, you're being mean to immigrants, well, no, we're enforcing laws. Again, no news laws are needed. We're
The laws
enforcing,
are there to protect the workers. These guys are skirting these laws so that the employers can screw them over, basically.
and if the employer says to them, "I'm sorry, you're fired, and I can't hire you again because the government is really breathing on my neck," I think people will self-deport. I think they will just say,
Well, if you
"Okay,
can't get a job,
right, that's exactly right." So I'm not saying that's the only thing that should be done, but I think that should be a big part of it because I think seriously, if you did that enforcement, you get millions of people to move back quickly.
I mean, you're making sense. The notion of just enforcing the existing laws, it is all we need to do. I mean, when you start to examine some of the practices that they have enabled, it's just stupid on its face. And if you started enforcing some sensible policy, I think we would at least begin to right the ship. It just seems like it's so crashed into the iceberg. It's almost like the Titanic at the bottom of the
illegal
ocean.
immigration, and they never talk about the when illegal immigrants are here, they're violating two laws. One is the immigration laws, and two is the work laws, the work visas. You know,
Yeah.
you and I can fly to England, okay, let's say, if we want to. But can we work in England?
No.
No. And so when someone comes in illegally, they're violating the immigration laws and the work laws. So I don't hear anybody talk about the work laws. But to me, it's the low-hanging fruit.
Well, and certainly when they're out on the streets selling sandwiches and fruit and whatever out of these igloo coolers and getting paid cash, I don't think they're paying taxes. There's all kinds of laws being broken. Creates this underground economy where, look, what you're saying about switching these identities of people is to create this like subclass of worker that's so desperate that they'll do things that allow employers to skirt these laws that are designed to protect workers. So, you know, Joe Biden has just allowed so many people into the country and made it so attractive for people to break the law. It's unbelievable.
When I was in Twin Falls, I went out to the dairy country, and I saw where the workers live. It's like a trailer, basically a single wide trailer, and it was literally 30 feet from a giant manure pile, which was a double wide. Right, of cow manure, 30 feet away from it. Now, those workers are all legal, and they're not going to complain, because they complain, the boss is going to say, okay, you're fired, good luck.
But that's slave labor, basically. And also, it sounds like a great way for a whole lot of people to start getting sick if something goes wrong.
And I think that I've never met a Republican, a grassroots person who's like, no, leave the employers alone. Everyone says, no, stop that shit right now. And also, I think it has the advantage of a lot of Democrats would actually go for it, because they wouldn't see it. Again, it's not like put a kid in a cage. I'm not saying put anyone in a cage. I'm saying enforce the laws about who can work and who cannot work. And they're supposed to do the checks already. But the problem is there's absolutely no enforcement.
Yeah. And what Joanna rightly says, it also keeps all wages down because, it just makes this lower class of, like underclass of worker who's kind of slave labor, forced to live near manure kind of thing.
And that's why Cesar Chavez,
I know a lot of streets named after him in Texas.
The great labor organizer in the 50s and 60s. He had Operation Wetback. Did you know about that?
I'm not sure.
Operation Wetback was to get rid of illegal Mexican immigrants. And Chavez was totally in favor of Operation Wetback. And the reason he was a union person for Americans, some of whom were Mexican American. They immigrated here legally, and they saw their jobs being taken away by illegal Mexicans. So it used to be, again, I'll have a category on Patreon about immigration soon, because I've actually been covering immigration for, I would say since 2013 or so. I mean, doing real work in immigration over at Breitbart. By the way, I'll post a lot of my Breitbart stuff there as well. So the way I describe the Patreon thing is that if you like me and the way I cover stories and the depth I cover stories and the way I do interviews, this is like a place to get a lot of that. Like this interview here with Alex Jones. Can you play a little? Just
sure.
Because I think people see immediately it's a different thing. It's not like I love Rogan, and when he interviews someone like Alex, it's always good. But I've got to say, this is a different look. It's kind of because I shot the video in the studio when Alex was in. You can't hear Garland next to him because he's not. It's just a phone. It's the phone microphone. But you'll see Alex and I talking, just bullshitting before the interview, and I think that's actually interesting. So play a little something we got.
Let's see. Why am I not getting any sound from it here? Sorry. Oops.
Get that out free. They're going to social engineer with it. But I totally agree with you that if we had smart foreign policy, we could easily cut the defense budget.
Try the other video. You said that because at the beginning of this,
but I've done David Knight's show on InfoWars a lot, and I've always appreciated whenever I've gone on InfoWars, you guys have always just let me do what I do. You let me talk and tell my story.
Oh yeah, when you go on other shows, they want to interrogate you.
That's right. Yeah, no, Garland's talked about it. He will get calls. I'm not going to know.
Yeah, Garland, no, but tell folks what it's like when they try to scream what you're going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, not here, but other shows.
So that you get an idea. Again, it's I think kind of like home movies of ours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good. A little behind the scenes for people to see there.
And it's long. It's like the two of them are like over an hour. So I'm putting a lot of this material up. Again, I have hard drives full of this stuff. It's been frustrating me because I have so much material. I want to get it out. But again, it's been a pain in the ass. Patreon makes it very, very easy for me to do. And it allows me to get paid for it too, which is nice. I think the $5 minimum, people can give more if they want, and I would appreciate it. But for $5, you get a lot of stuff. Like, play one of the CGI lessons, because they're kind of slick, you'll see.
Whoops.
That's not as slick as I would anticipate.
Sorry.
Okay, they say that if you don't know the past, you're condemned to repeat it. And bearing that in mind, I want to give you kind of a whirlwind history of modern journalism. And I'm actually doing this with a very practical purpose in mind. So if you're one of those people who got bored in history class, don't worry, this is going to go pretty quick. But I'm going to give you enough of a starting point here where if you're interested in pursuing some of these very interesting lives, I don't have, some of these, I'm going to be critical, but these are all fascinating parts. But I want to point out that the goal here is to answer one question, which is, how did we get to this point? How did we get to the point where journalism is what it is? And how's that going to affect you? Why is journalism so bad? Why are things so dishonest? And I think when you look at the history with me, you'll get some of those answers. Okay, now, when I talk, I could go, we're doing a full history course. You'd start with the Greeks and all that stuff. I'm going to skip right ahead. I'm going to go to the Industrial Revolution. And the reason why is because when we're talking about modern journalism, and it's notably bad, a lot of people get nostalgic and they go, well, it used to be that journalism was honest. No, not so much, really. So the first person I want to talk about is somebody named W.T. Stead. He was born in 1849, and he died in an interesting way in 1912. W.T. Stead was British, and as you can see, he was sort of born right in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. And this is the time when printing presses were first really getting going, and the modern. So you should see it's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
And
history there.
Yeah, and well produced too, I think.
Yeah, people can make sure they check that out on patreon.com/Stranahan. So Lee, we're just about out of time here on YouTube and all the free channels. We're going to continue on patreon.com/Stranahan. People can also join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll be right